President Obama meets next week with China's president, and he plans to raise the issue of cybersecurity and the theft of U.S. secrets by Chinese hackers. David Sanger is chief Washington correspondent for the New York Times and the author of Confront and Conceal on Mr. Obama's approach to foreign adversaries. And he joins us from our Washington bureau. Good morning.
Morning. Good to be with you, Emery.
So if President Obama is going to be bringing this up with his counterpart in China, clearly these hackers, this issue, cyber espionage, it's something that's of immense concern. What's being done?
Well, the most remarkable thing is how quickly this has moved from sort of the periphery of the U.S.-Chinese relationship, something you never really used to hear about very much as a major diplomatic issue, to the center of it. And the president is, I think, quite determined to try to get the Chinese leadership first to acknowledge the problem, because the Chinese have said before that they are victims of hackers, and they have denied many of the reports, including those that we've written about in the New York Times, about the People's Liberation Army unit outside of Shanghai, Unit 61398, that is believed to be the cover for many of the Chinese hacking groups that have been coming in to steal everything from aircraft designs to industrial control processes to espionage on American government agencies.
When it comes to this whole question of cyber attacks, David, I mean, it pretty clearly, the problem goes straight to China. I mean, I think it was John Huntsman, the former ambassador to China and, of course, presidential candidate, who said as much as 66% of all cyber attacks on American companies come from the Chinese, correct?
That's right, and that statistic may be low. I mean, it's a very hard thing to go measure, but certainly China is a preponderance of or a good majority of the theft that is intellectual property. Now, there are other kinds of cyber attacks. So you saw a number of attacks on American banks that took place earlier this year. Those were sort of denial of service attacks, efforts to try to make it impossible to use the system. Some of those are believed to have come from Iran. But the Iranians are nowhere near as talented as the Chinese and to some degree the Russians.
This sort of stuff has got to cost companies a lot of money.
It costs them billions of dollars, and there is increasing pressure from American firms. And that's a point that the president will be making to Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, because for the first time, you have heard some of the greatest advocates of the U.S.-China relationship, like the U.S.-China Business Council and so forth, complain that this problem has got to get solved or American companies won't continue to invest and bring new technology to China. Whether or not they're willing to actually cut themselves out of the Chinese market, that's another question. And the other issue is, to what degree does the president have much leverage here, since China is not only a very needed trading partner, but a very needed lender to the U.S. Treasury.
Indeed, not a problem. It's going to go away quickly. David Sanger, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.